As Professor Jürgen Moltmann rightly observes, confessions are not supposed to be rigid formulas, incomprehensible to many. Confessions are meant to express in concrete terms what needs to be said in the name of God concerning matters of faith here and now. Therefore, it is imperative on us to negotiate our non-negotiable confessions, informed by our discernment of the signs of the times, to transform them into gospels of renewal and transformation in our neighborhoods and communities. In that process, we become a confessing church, proclaiming our faith in the living God by disrupting the prevailing unjust and social relations. Renewal and transformation, a call to creative maladjustment. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect, else to become a confessing church. For Apostle Paul, the present eon is a state of corruption. The present eon is to participate in its corruptness. Non-conformism is not a negative response. Our non-conformism towards the present eon is creative and transformation. As Paul Tillich reminds us, a church in which the divine protest does not find a human voice through which it can speak has become conformed to this eon. Conformity is a resistance to idolatry. It is a critique of our attempts to absolutize ourselves, our nation, and our community. Non-conformism was a favorite slogan of Martin Luther King Jr. For him, non-conformity is creative when it is directed by a renewed and transformed life. I quote, "There are certain things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted. I never intend to adjust myself to the evils of segregation and the crippling effects of discrimination. I never intend to adjust myself to the inequalities of an economic system which takes necessities from the masses to give luxuries to the class, myself to religious bigotry. I never intend to become adjusted to the madness of militarism and the self-defeating God." In a sermon based on Romans 12, 1 and 2, King elaborated his theology of creative maladjustment. I quote, "The saving of our world from pending doom will come not through the complacent element of the conforming majority, but through the creative maladjustment of a non-conforming majority." And maladjusted is an alternative worldview and behavior, a departure from what is usually. Creative maladjustment means to be aligned with the gospel imperative. This requires the courage to identify systemic sin. One of the major contributions of the ecumenical movement and the Reformed community was a watershed in the global engagement with environmental issues. The discussion at the conference was dominated by concerns such as the then Prime Minister of India. I quote, "We have to prove to the disability of the world that ecology and conservation but will bring in greatest polluters." Andre Duncan, in his sermon at the WCC worship service at Stockholm, echoed the same concern. I quote, "If the Stockholm Conference not in itself, but together." The 1970s and of women, poor, and minorities from all over the world, challenging racism, economic injustice, patriarchy, and diverse manifestations of colonialism, on public witness in the context of injustice and environmental destruction. Here, neoliberal globalization and its violent impact on God's creation compelled the ecumenical movement to rethink the meaning of Christian public witness. Earth agape process was initiated. History of market and affirmed the need to link poverty, renewal, and transformation. Church. The Reformation commemoration is an occasion for the Church to become self-reflexive and